Welcome back to Crime Documentary Files. Today, we're diving into the story of a beautiful flight attendant whose seemingly perfect life turned into a nightmare. A life that many dream of, only to be shattered by one toxic relationship that destroyed a life and a family. Our story begins on a Sunday, December 8th, 2013. In the stillness of the night, the Kwan Wan apartment complex in Hong Kong was eerily quiet. The ticking of the clock echoed louder than usual, breaking the silence and making the air feel heavy. Chan Man-ching lay in bed, staring at the ceiling in exhaustion. She tried to close her eyes, but the thoughts about the phone call she just received kept spinning in her mind. On the other end of the line was her older sister's superior at the airline, Chan Man-yi. Her sister's boss informed her that they hadn't seen Man-yi in several days and asked if the family knew what had happened to her. Man-ching was stunned by the news. Indeed, it had been 4 days since she last saw her sister, and she thought Abby was just working. The superior continued, telling her that 4 days ago, on the afternoon of October 4th at 3 p.m., the company had received a phone call from Man-yi. Her voice was hoarse, and she requested sick leave. Company policy required employees to notify at least 2 hours in advance if they were taking sick leave, but at that time, there was only an hour and a half left before her shift. This left the company in a difficult position, as it was nearly impossible to find a replacement on such short notice. Chan Man-yi, also known as Abby, was 26 years old and worked as a flight attendant. As you might know, for crew members, taking time off suddenly can severely impact their careers. Abby had always been a hardworking and dedicated employee. It was very unlike her to request sick leave on such short notice. So, what had happened to her? After the call from the airline, Man-ching, feeling uneasy, tried reaching out to her sister and her sister's boyfriend, but neither answered. She tried to think of every possibility, growing more anxious but not knowing where to start. Around 2 a.m., Man-ching suddenly remembered that her sister always took her suitcase when she went to work. So, she began searching the house. The family had 3 daughters, and they shared a bedroom. Since her second sister was studying abroad in Singapore, only Man-ching and Abby were in the room. During her search, Man-ching noticed that Abby's suitcase and handbag seemed to be missing from the room. If Abby had gone to work, she would have definitely taken them. But the strange thing was that Abby's bed was neatly made, and it seemed like something was hidden under the blanket. When she lifted the blanket, Man-ching could hardly believe her eyes. Beneath it was a flight attendant uniform, a pair of high heels, and a handbag. Abby, known for her meticulousness, never placed her shoes on the bed. This discovery made Man-ching feel that something was terribly wrong, and she couldn't sleep any longer. She rushed to wake her parents to discuss what to do and began searching the house. Before long, her father suddenly shouted from the closet in their shared bedroom, "I found it! It's here!" Man-ching thought her father had found the suitcase, but when she ran to the door, the sight before her was so horrifying that she collapsed to the floor in shock. The closet door was wide open, and Abby's pale, stiff legs were sticking out. The entire house was engulfed in an eerie silence. A foul odor wafted from the closet, mixed with the scent of camphor, making the air feel even heavier. Her father's eyes were empty, distant. He suddenly recalled that for the past few days, there had been an odd smell in the house, but whenever he opened the window to air it out, the smell would dissipate and he thought nothing of it. Little did he know that was the smell of death lingering in his own home. After a brief moment of panic, Man-ching composed herself and quickly instructed her parents not to touch anything to avoid disturbing the crime scene. She immediately called the police. By 2:30 a.m., police and an ambulance arrived at the Kwan Wan apartment complex and cordoned off the area. When the police discovered Abby's body in the closet, they were shocked by her strange posture. Her legs were pointing upward, her head was facing down, and her uniform was still neat, with a scarf from her uniform tied around her neck. Abby had been dead for several days. Due to the winter weather, along with the clothes in the closet and the camphor smell, the decomposition of her body was slow, so the stench wasn't overpowering. This explained why her family had unknowingly lived with the body for several days. The forensic report revealed that the body showed no signs of sexual assault. There were signs of a struggle on her head and hands, and blood was coming from her nostrils. Her neck had 5 wounds, including 2 horizontal abrasions and 3 vertical scratches. The time of death was determined to be the afternoon of December 4th, the day she requested sick leave. The cause of death was asphyxiation, and the killer had used both hands and the scarf from her uniform to strangle Abby until she stopped breathing. Additionally, when investigators checked, the family discovered that Abby's phone and bank card had been taken. The SIM card was removed, making it impossible for the phone to receive missed calls or text messages. The last recorded call was the one where she requested time off from work. The police later played the recording of Abby's sick leave request for the family. Her father confirmed that the voice on the phone was indeed his daughter's, but it sounded strangely hesitant, stammering, and full of fear, completely different from the usual clear and confident tone Abby had when speaking. Manching also remembered that her sister always spoke clearly and decisively, but in that call, her sister's voice was trembling as if she were terrified. Based on the analysis of the evidence, the police concluded that Abby had been forced to make the call to request time off. Continuing their investigation into her bank card transaction history, the police discovered that there had been no transactions for the past week. This raised suspicions that the perpetrator had taken her bank card but had not used it, a detail that seemed highly suspicious. Abby's mother recalled that Abby had always been well-behaved and thoughtful from a young age. Every day after school, she would take her 2 younger sisters to the library to study and wait for their parents to come home from work. Abby was an excellent student and was frequently praised by her teachers as the hardest working student in the class. Although the family was not wealthy, Abby excelled in her studies and gained admission to the prestigious Chinese University of Hong Kong, one of the most respected universities in Hong Kong. The day she received her acceptance letter, the whole family celebrated with a meal, roasting a chicken to mark the occasion. However, Abby gave most of her portion to her younger sisters, unwilling to eat her share. When she went to university, Abby juggled both studying and working part-time to support her family. During the day, she focused on her studies, and in the evenings, she worked at a cafe. Every penny she earned was used to help her parents. She was always considered the most thoughtful daughter by her family, admired by her friends for her diligence and intelligence. To her neighbors, Abby was the perfect girl, rarely in conflict with anyone. Yet the unthinkable happened. She was brutally murdered. According to the investigation, Abby's parents typically returned home after 7 p.m. Her younger sister, Man Ching, worked at a bar and didn't come home until early in the morning. It seemed that the perpetrator was well aware of the family's schedule and chose a time when only Abby would be home to carry out the crime. This suggested that the killer was very familiar with the family's routines. On the morning of December 9th, 5 days after the incident, Abby's parents found her work suitcase on top of the wardrobe in their bedroom. The perpetrator's actions were clearly meant to create a false crime scene, making it appear as if Abby had gone to work. At the crime scene, there were no signs of a struggle or forced entry, which led the family to miss any red flags. This indicated that the perpetrator was likely someone familiar to Abby. The police suspected that the killer had a close relationship with her, and they began investigating Abby's personal connections. Immediately, Abby's boyfriend, Wu Wa-kung, became a suspect. Man Ching tried to reach him, but was unsuccessful. Abby and Kung had only met a little over a month before the incident occurred. Kyung, 30 years old, was a business executive based in Shenzhen. He had studied in the UK and, after graduating, worked for an electronics company, commuting between Hong Kong and Shenzhen nearly every day. In September 2013, during a cruise, he happened to meet Abby, and when he found out she was a flight attendant, he jokingly said he wanted to experience her services. A few days later, Abby had a flight to Beijing, and she invited Kyung to join her. Their relationship progressed quickly, and by December 2nd, they officially became a couple. Abby frequently expressed her affection for Kyung on Facebook, calling him her angel, who brought good things into her life. However, when the police began searching for Kyung, he voluntarily went to the police station and denied any involvement in Abby's death. He claimed that the last time he saw her was on December 1st, 3 days before Abby requested time off. They had kept in touch through text messages, and the last conversation between them occurred around noon on the day of the incident. In that conversation, Abby had sent him a picture and asked for his opinion on how she looked. Kyung stated that, according to Abby's flight schedule, she was supposed to return to Hong Kong by 10:30 p.m. on December 4th. Around 11:30 p.m. that night, he sent her a message asking if she had arrived home, but after that, he completely lost contact with her. He received no replies to his messages or phone calls. Kyung assumed she was just tired and didn't think much of it. Kyung explained that the reason he couldn't be reached was that he had gone camping with friends in the mountains, an area with no cell phone signal. It was only when he returned home that his friends informed him of Abby's death. They also told him that the police were looking for him, so when he heard the news, he rushed to the police station to clarify everything. He was very cooperative with the investigation and appeared deeply saddened. Although he had only known Abby for a short time, he claimed they were very compatible. Abby was an easygoing girl who loved her family very much. The police continued their investigation and discovered that, on the day of the incident, Kyung was not in Hong Kong but in Shenzhen. Additionally, there was no clear motive for him to be involved in the crime. As a result, Kyung was cleared from the list of suspects. But if Kyung wasn't the perpetrator, then who could be? Abby had never had any conflicts with her colleagues, and most of her close friends hadn't seen her since December 3rd. Her family also had no reason to commit the crime. The Quan Wan residential complex where Abby lived had a good security system. After reviewing the security camera footage, the police identified a suspicious man. Around 1:50 p.m. on the day of the incident, this man entered the complex and appeared to be very familiar with the area. He then stood in front of Abby's apartment, walking back and forth. About 40 minutes later, as Abby was putting on her uniform and preparing to wheel her suitcase out for work, the man rushed toward her, grabbed her by the shoulder, pushed her inside, and slammed the door shut. At 3 p.m., Abby made a phone call to request time off, seemingly under duress from the man. At 5:17 p.m., the man hurriedly left the building, and Abby no longer appeared on the security cameras. After reviewing the footage, Man Ching recognized the man as Mok Chun Yin, her sister's ex-boyfriend, with whom she had broken up a year prior. Chun Yin, 26, was a second-generation rich man from Shenzhen. His father owned a transport company specializing in shipping goods between Hong Kong and mainland China, and the family was very wealthy. When he was 6 years old, Chun Yin moved to Hong Kong with his family. He studied at St. John's Ambulance Academy in Hong Kong, where he gained basic medical knowledge but failed the final exam and did not receive his certification. Afterward, he became disheartened and neglected his studies, which led to a significant decline in his academic performance. Although his father wanted to send him abroad for further studies, Chun Yin preferred to experience life on his own by working. However, he encountered multiple failures in his career, trying his hand at various jobs, from working at a financial company to being a real estate agent. At the time of the incident, he was unemployed. According to his friends, Chun Yin was always eager to boast about his lifestyle and romantic experiences. He frequently flaunted his family's wealth, dressing in designer clothes from head to toe whenever he went out. When hanging out with friends, he was always the one to pick up the tab, but when he ran out of money, he would borrow from others. Chun Yin also had a passion for basketball, and every Thursday, he would participate in a fixed-hour practice at a familiar location, never missing a session. His relationship with Abby began simply. One day in November, Chun Yin attended a friend's gathering at a bar in Lan Kwai Fong, where he coincidentally met Abby, who had come to pick up her younger sister Man Ching from work. He was immediately attracted to her and took the initiative to introduce himself. After that, Chun Yin relentlessly pursued Abby, giving her roses every day and expressing his infatuation. Abby, moved by his gestures, agreed to date him. To everyone, they appeared to be a happy couple. Chun Yin not only bought Abby many designer items, but also took her on trips. On social media, he frequently boasted about their relationship and occasionally mentioned Abby's hard work. After each trip, Abby would also buy small gifts for Chun Yin. She always agreed to meet him whenever he asked. However, their relationship lasted less than a year and ended in a dramatic and unpleasant breakup. Abby said she felt like a lifeless shell, deleting all contact and blocking all of Chun-Yin's accounts. However, he did not give up, creating multiple fake accounts to send her abusive messages and insults. Due to this, Abby spiraled into a mental breakdown and even posted a message saying that her ex-boyfriend had threatened to kill her. Abby's family was furious upon learning this, and to protect their daughter, her father took 2 weeks off work to escort her every day. With their care and support, Abby gradually recovered from the trauma caused by her ex-boyfriend. This event made it clear that Chun-Yin had a motive for the crime. However, what puzzled the police was that despite coming from a wealthy family, why would he steal Abby's bank card? After reviewing the security footage, the police discovered that after leaving the apartment complex, Chun-Yin stopped in front of a mirror to adjust his hair before heading straight to a nearby ATM. However, after some time using the machine, he left with empty hands and a disappointed expression. The police suspected that Chun-Yin did not know Abby's bank card password, which is why he couldn't withdraw any money. After checking the bank transaction data, they found that he had entered the wrong password twice. The police also examined Chun-Yin's call log and discovered that in the 3 days leading up to the crime, he had contacted 3 people. The first was Chun-Yin's basketball teammate, who mentioned that he had called to invite him for a game of basketball the day after the crime. Although Chun-Yin showed up on time, he was dressed in a full outfit with glasses, which was unusual for him. He claimed he had work to attend to and didn't participate in the practice. An important detail to note was that Chun-Yin had 2 clear red scratches on his neck, resembling scratch marks. When asked about them, he chuckled and said they were caused by his girlfriend playfully fooling around with him. His teammate didn't think much of it at the time. After playing basketball, the 2 of them took the subway back home, but strangely, Chun-Yin didn't get off at the station closest to his home, which made his friend feel that something was off. The next person Chun-Yin contacted was a classmate from middle school. On December 6th, Chun-Yin called and said he had something important to discuss. The 2 met, bought some beer, and sat on a park bench chatting. Noticing Chun-Yin's heavy demeanor, the friend jokingly asked, "Are you going to commit a crime?" When he got a denial, the friend continued with, "Or did you kill someone?" However, this question was met with silence, which made the friend feel something was wrong. Standing up and staring at Chun-Yin, he couldn't believe what he was hearing. After a while, Chun-Yin spoke and said, "Sit down, let's talk." He finally admitted to killing Abby. When asked about how the crime was committed, Chun-Yin mimicked the action of strangling with both hands and explained that he used a scarf to blindfold the victim because he was scared. His old friend couldn't believe what he was hearing and asked why Chun-Yin acted that way. Chun-Yin responded by telling a childhood story. He once had a video game console, and his cousin really liked it, always asking to play. Despite his family's advice to let his cousin play, Chun-Yin got angry and threw the console out the window. He justified his actions by saying, "If I can't have something, I won't let anyone else have it either." A few days later, on the evening of December 7th, Chun-Yin called his longtime friend and admitted that he had killed someone and was planning to flee Hong Kong. However, due to Chun-Yin's habit of boasting, the friend didn't fully believe him. The 2 only exchanged a few words before parting ways. About an hour later, Chun-Yin called again, saying that he was about to leave Hong Kong and asked his friend not to tell anyone. After these conversations, the police had enough reason to suspect Chun-Yin as the perpetrator. A reward of 300,000 Hong Kong dollars, approximately 38,500 US dollars, was offered for information leading to his arrest. As public outrage grew over the case, Chun-Yin's former schoolmate publicly urged him to surrender, saying, "There are things that can't be undone, but you must face the consequences. Running away won't help. It won't change anything." 3 years later, on October 24th, 2016, the case took a significant turn. The police received a tip-off from a father who said that his daughter was seeing a man he didn't approve of. While searching online for more information, he discovered that the man was Chun-Yin, and he reported it to the authorities. 5 days after the investigation began, Mainland Chinese authorities quickly located Chun Yin and arrested him at a hair salon just 6 days before his birthday. Before being apprehended, Chun Yin had been excitedly planning his birthday party. Once arrested, he confessed to killing his ex-girlfriend and hiding her body in Hong Kong. Eventually, the entire story came to light. Although Chun Yin had always been seen as a good man by those around him, only he knew that it was all a facade. He often boasted to his friends about having won over a highly educated flight attendant who was easy to approach and always obedient. He was also known to be promiscuous, having relationships with multiple women at the same time. After over a year, his relationship with Abby began to deteriorate. In early 2013, Chun Yin went to the airport to pick up Abby and happened to see her happily chatting with a male flight attendant. Feeling jealous, Chun Yin immediately rushed over to yell at the two, publicly humiliating Abby. Abby, who only saw the male colleague as a friend, felt deeply insulted. The couple had a huge argument over the incident. A few days later, when Chun Yin's anger subsided, he realized his mistake and tried to apologize to Abby. He explained that his outburst was due to work-related stress. However, when he willingly showed Abby his chat history, Chun Yin had forgotten to delete the flirtatious messages with other women. This made Abby even angrier, and she demanded to break up. Chun Yin fabricated a story, claiming that those women were old friends from before he met Abby, and that he hadn't yet severed contact with them. To show his sincerity, Chun Yin went to Abby's workplace every day to apologize. Eventually, the two got back together. But when they moved in together, Chun Yin's true nature began to surface. He quit his job and spent his days playing video games at home. Whenever Abby suggested he look for a new job, Chun Yin would make excuses, claiming that his family was wealthy and that he would soon inherit everything from his father, so he didn't need to work. However, the truth was that his father had cut off his allowance a long time ago because he hadn't made any progress in his life. Gradually, Chun Yin fell deeper into gambling, continuously borrowing money from Abby. When he lost at gambling, he would get angry and destroy things around the house. In just half a month, Chun Yin had accumulated debts totaling hundreds of thousands of Hong Kong dollars. By September, when he asked to borrow money again, Abby couldn't take it anymore and refused. A heated argument ensued, and in his rage, Chun Yin strangled Abby and threatened to kill her. Abby struggled and called the police. The police quickly arrived at the hotel where they were staying and restrained Chun Yin. After investigating the incident, he was brought before the Tuen Mun court, where he was charged with violating a bail condition, a relatively light punishment. However, the altercation left Abby utterly disappointed, and she decided to end the relationship for good. Chun Yin, unwilling to accept this, continued to stalk Abby. When he found out she had a new boyfriend, he called her, asking to get back together, but Abby completely ignored him. After learning Abby's work schedule, Chun Yin decided to visit her on December 4th with the intention of talking things through. He knew she would be home alone that afternoon, and with her weak personality, he believed that a threat would make her agree to take him back. That afternoon, Chun Yin arrived at the Quan Wan apartment complex and knocked on Abby's door. Looking through the peephole, Abby recognized him but didn't open the door. Chun Yin quickly stepped into a position out of sight to wait. When Abby opened the door, he rushed in. At first, Chun Yin thought everything would go as planned, but Abby firmly refused to get back together. She told him that she had to go to work and asked him to leave. Chun Yin refused to let the opportunity slip away. With threats, he forced Abby to call in sick. In the conversation that followed, when he realized that the relationship couldn't be salvaged, Chun Yin lost his patience and began to act violently. He grabbed the scarf from Abby's uniform collar. In panic, Abby struggled, scratching Chun Yin's neck with her nails, leaving 2 deep scratches. At this point, Chun Yin completely lost control and strangled her with all his strength. When he came to his senses, he realized Abby was no longer breathing. Afterward, everything unfolded as the police later discovered. Chun Yin cleaned up the scene and staged it to look as if Abby had gone to work. He sold her phone and fled Hong Kong. During the 3 years he was on the run, Chun Yin lived with relatives in mainland China, spending money lavishly that had been provided by his parents. When he ran out of money, he found work in factories that didn't require identification. He even had a new girlfriend and a son. Chun-Yin thought he would live out the rest of his life like this, but he didn't expect that the family of his new girlfriend would eventually discover his true identity. After being arrested, Chun-Yin grimly admitted that he had considered confessing, but feared being convicted, so he refrained. He expressed deep regret for his actions and felt guilty toward both his family and Abby's family. He claimed that for all this time, his conscience had been tormenting him, and now he felt relieved to have been caught. In 2017, Chun-Yin was extradited from mainland China back to Hong Kong. Throughout the process, he kept his hands over his face and showed remorse. 5 years after the incident, in April 2018, Chun-Yin's trial began at the Hong Kong Court of Final Appeal. He was charged with murder, theft, and other offenses. At the trial, Chun-Yin changed his testimony, claiming that he had unintentionally killed Abby and had not meant to. He told a different version of events, stating that on the day of the incident, he went to Abby's place to ask for reconciliation. Abby neither rejected nor accepted his request, but instead suggested calling in sick and said she wanted to cook for him. While Abby was in the restroom, Chun-Yin accidentally saw a message from Kyung on her phone with very intimate language. This immediately sparked a fierce argument between the two. During the fight, Abby mocked Chun-Yin's sexual abilities, which caused him to lose control of his emotions. In a burst of anger, he accidentally strangled her to death. After calming down, Chun-Yin panicked and attempted to perform CPR on Abby, but it was too late. He fled to mainland China but carried a photo of Abby with him. Every late night, he would look at the photo until he got a new girlfriend, at which point he burned the picture. Although he repeatedly said that he loved Abby and felt guilty toward her family, when asked by the judge, his response was strange. He couldn't answer clearly when asked what he liked about Abby, hesitating and only saying, "lively." Forensic experts doubted Chun-Yin's testimony, pointing out that a victim who had been given CPR would have visible bruising on their chest, but Abby's body had no such marks. Instead, Abby showed signs of losing control over her bodily functions, indicating that she had experienced extreme pain or fear before her death. One of Chun-Yin's friends testified that after the murder, he admitted that he had wanted to kill Abby for a long time. This suggests that the murder was premeditated. Abby's mother broke down repeatedly during the trial, unable to speak when presenting a photo of her daughter. Man Ching, Abby's sister, was furious at Chun-Yin's defenses, asserting that her sister had wanted to break up with him for a long time, but Chun-Yin had relentlessly stalked her and denied her the chance to live in peace. Although Chun-Yin's defense attorney argued that he had shown remorse and hoped the court would lessen his sentence, the judge concluded that he was cold-blooded, irresponsible, and selfish. The judge noted that there was no genuine remorse in his actions. He also pointed out that although Chun-Yin had admitted to killing Abby before the trial, the real issue was whether he had intended to murder her. After 7 hours of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict with a 6-1 majority, declaring Chun-Yin guilty of murder and several other charges, sentencing him to life in prison. Upon hearing the sentence, Chun-Yin showed no strong reaction, standing motionless with a vacant stare. Man Ching burst into tears and stood up. In a later interview, she shared that while the verdict had been delivered, there were still many things that could never be compensated. She emphasized that she would never forgive the defendant, although in the end, her sister had been vindicated. This case not only left a great deal of pain, but also sparked outrage. Abby, an ordinary woman, simply sought happiness and had done nothing wrong. The real wrongdoer was the one who couldn't let go, the one who acted with cruelty and malice. The story of Abby concludes with a life sentence for Chun-Yin, but the pain and loss her family endured will haunt them forever. This case serves as a poignant reminder of the severe consequences of possessiveness, jealousy, and selfishness in love. It also raises awareness about the importance of respecting others' freedom and choices, as well as encouraging people to speak up and seek help when facing violence or threats in relationships. Abby's life was unjustly taken from her, but her story will always stand as a lesson on the value of life, love, and justice. We hope that somewhere, Abby has found peace. That concludes today's video. We'll see you again in the next one. Goodbye.